Welcome to our Not So Live Science mini PD for the month of March. Due to some major technical difficulties yesterday, including a network outage, we were unable to do a live session. So I am recording this today. Hopefully, I will be able to cover everything in depth enough. But if you have a question or you want to know more about something else, please feel free to reach out to me after the you watch the video and ask any questions you may have. So I am going to go through a slide deck and then I've got some resources that I want to demonstrate and share. Um, Science is a little bit more in depth. So some of the I don't have quite as many resources to offer you today because I would rather do a really good job explaining the ones that I do have, if that makes sense. So we are talking about tools and techniques to encourage our technology integration in the science classroom. So science and technology really go hand in hand. If you look at a lot of the standards, and I have kind of paired up some standards for you to see today, just to kind of help you see and identify what language to look for to say, oh, I can surely incorporate, those standards from DLCS into my science curriculum. And I also know, especially in our lower elementary grades, we do not have that much time to invest in science. Once our children get on into upper elementary, middle school, and high school, they have dedicated science classes. So hopefully, I can give you elementary teachers some ideas of some things you might could do that are going to kill multiple birds with one stone. And then maybe for our teachers who have lots of time to do things in science, I can give you some newer things that you want to try. So a lot of times, our scientific theories and concepts are supported by technology. Technology is also going to give us the ability to allow experiences that are otherwise not possible, to be able to see things and investigate things that we would not be able to take a field trip and do. Excuse me. And then, like I said before, the processes are very similar for that. So, fun fact, I'm a gigantic space nerd. I actually taught sixth grade science for about 6 years and absolutely loved it. So sixth grade earth science is a little bit of a challenge because plate tectonics, it does not sound super exciting. And a lot of the things that are in the sixth grade standards are things that are really abstract for students. Our students here in Alabama have never had to experience an earthquake before, thankfully, but we know plenty about tornadoes. So, bringing in some technology things into those standards can help them have experiences they would not have been able to have otherwise. So, once again, sharing the Padlet of resources. I have updated it, as you can see, to include some science resources. There's a QR code to scan. That link is clickable, where you are going to be able to access all of the resources for this presentation, in addition to ELA and math if you're interested in those. Okay, so I did dedicate a slide because I did have some upper level teachers sign up for this PD. And so I kind of went through and talked about some of the high points of technology and the digital literacy and computer science standards where they're integrated into these dedicated classes. So I'm not going to read it to you. I'm just going to put it up here because if you are lower elementary, then this may not apply to you, but I just want you to kind of think about some things that you could incorporate into your science curriculum that you're teaching and where you will be able to see these words again later in the presentation. So, I have to get on my DLCS soapbox for a little bit. If you have been with me for 3 for 3 now, you are tired of listening to me about this. But like I said, I did take some standards and kind of marry them together to show you how easy it is to incorporate these. So for algorithms right here, this first grade standard that I have identified right here with um, I'm sorry, I'm going to do the kindergarten one is the one I have my notes on. So this kindergarten standard is to list a sequence of events required to solve problems. And then the science standard is identify and plan solutions to help lessen your human impact on environment. So you're listing sequences of events to help you solve problems. That goes hand in hand. Programming and development, these are sixth grade standards. The digital literacy standard is create a program that has variables, and then standard 12 in the the science curriculum is talking about qualitative scientific data that you use, like in weather prediction. There's lots of variables in the weather. Impact of computing, again, that's with kindergarten, recognizing ways that devices make certain tasks easier, talking about weather forecasting and predicting, how much better that is now with all these advanced models that we have and techie tools. Communication, communicating key ideas in a collaborative way that informs others is the DLCS standard, and the science standard display data graphically in tables to describe weather conditions. Modeling for seventh grade, analyze and interpret data to provide evidence on how resources impact a population. And then the DLCS standard is, oops, let me go back to that. Sorry, is talking about analyzing and categorizing models based on various systems. And then lastly, for fifth grade, develop, test, and refine prototypes as part of a design process. And then the science standards design solutions, test, and revise a process for cleaning up polluted environments. So all of those, I just wanted to kind of show you where the verbiage repeats, where you can kind of look for things that you can put together to be able to cover both of those standards in your classroom. So the science ones line up really, really nicely, not quite so much like ELA where it's a little bit of a stretch. So, we're going to start off by things that everybody has got access to and everybody has used, and how we can kind of tie those tools into science. So, the first one being Google Sheets. I have done tons of training on Google Sheets lately. People had just really want to be able to use it more efficiently and effectively. But Google Sheets is one of the best tools that I know to create graphs. So, if you are doing weather data collection and you are having students keep a journal, that is awesome. And I totally encourage keeping a journal because that's always going to work, even when your internet's out, because we know that happens. But then they could plug those into a table in Google Sheets and be able to create a beautiful chart with the click of a button. Super easy to do. There are tons of YouTube tutorials. I can send you a tutorial that I've made. It's going to be kind of long because it has lots of other stuff in it. But Google Sheets is a great way to produce graphs, and tons of scientific information can be done in graphs. Um, Cannot underestimate a good old Google slide. You know, all of those things like creating a design process and a prototype and all those things, you know, students could put together a really awesome slide deck or even a Google site to document all those things that they did. And that's very collaborative, encouraging communication, being able to present and persuade those findings and views to others. And then lastly, Google Scholar, kind of an underutilized tool in our district, but it is one that is available. It is a very, very easy and user-friendly place to do scientific research. So, if you think back to your days that you were probably working on a degree when you had to do the whole online libraries and log in 1,000 times and things like that, Google Scholar is super simple. There's very easy search parameters. So if you wanted your students to do some scientific research, I would highly encourage you also to use the feature to filter out by year. And while we're on that, I would love to show you this just quick Google trick. So the thing about science that I have discovered and worked on over the past several years is that a lot of times we are stuck making our own resources because it changes all the time. So if we are looking for an article about, let's just say, space probes for we'll do Jupiter. Okay. So if we are researching this and we want our students to find accurate information, we also need to make sure that we're looking for current information. Now, I do love this AI overview. So most students are going to get their information from here. But if we want to make sure that we're looking for, again, within the past year, 5 years, if you click on tools right here on Google and go to any time, you are able to filter out your range of time that you want this. So if you want to make sure that you are looking for information that's only been published within the past year, you can click on past year, and that is going to take away anything that's super old. So whenever researching stuff for science, that would be a really important thing to think about because you don't want to have old and inaccurate information that your students are looking at. So there's your bonus for the day. Okay, the first tool that I want to mention is not one that is available to everybody. The following schools that you see on the screen, they do have sets of these Class VR headsets. I will say that this is the recommended VR headset that we would recommend for our school district. I know that it is very pricey. A set of eight is going to be a couple of $1,000s. I think it's around eight to $10,000, and then a full class set. Maybe it's a little bit cheaper than that. A full cart of 30 with the cart and the licenses and everything is close to around $18,000. It is pricey, but I will tell you they are safe. They are easy to use. The teachers love them. I went to Verbena and did one-on-one training with the teachers there, and the impact has been fabulous there. So if you already work at one of these schools, please seek out your tech person and see what you can do about renting those or getting those in your classroom to use for this. If you're not at one of those schools, like the iPad device checkout, I am working on securing a set of eight here at the district. Like I said, I'm having to kind of wait on some funding to see how that pans out. So I do want to incorporate this into our toolbox of things that can be checked out. So the really cool thing with Class VR is that you have all of these different features. You can do 360-degree photos, and I'm going to show you the library of things that you can access to in just a second, and video. You also have access to tons of 3D models, and there is a very heavy emphasis on science for those. And then they do also have a very select few of pre-made lesson plans. So if you're someone that you're not super techie, but you really want to jump out there and put yourself out there, they do have a lesson plan that's ready to go for you that you can use too. So, in our Padlet, I have got two links for Class VR. This one is the one I'm about to show you, which is the resource library. And then this 10 ways to use Class VR is a blog post where you can read to get some ideas for how to use it in your classroom. So here's the library. So I have this handout. Typically, if I go to a school to train on these, I print a bunch of these out because you have to register and download to get this handout. I also have a link to it in there so you can look at it and share it through there. But these are all of the things that are available. So I'm going to see if I can zoom that in some so you can see all of these images. So a lot of the images are places, but if you're talking about something in science and it originated in a place, or you're talking about land formations or things like that, you might could see some of those things. Through these 360-degree photos. And, the students literally can turn their head, um, look up, look down. It is a full 360 degrees to be able to kind of immerse themselves. They have a zoom feature. There's one little button on the side of the VR headset where they can zoom in and see, something a little bit closer. We also see it just goes on and on and on. Have a limited selection of 360-degree video. They have some animals. We like do lots of animal studies in the earlier grades. We do have some specific science and technology videos right here. Northern Lights and solar eclipse. Most students probably do have maybe some memory of an eclipse. We had one in 2017 is the last time I remember watching one. I think there's been one since then too. So some of their older students may, remember those things. And then the models that I was telling you about. So in biology, if you can't afford to do a dissection or things like that, then you could get these VR headsets and you could talk about different body parts of a puffer fish or a cat or whatever by utilizing this model. You've also got some for chemistry and different atom compositions, biology and life science, talking about cells, the human heart, and then physics and space. You have all of the planets, an orbiter space shuttle, the Apollo 11, all sorts of things. And then here's where I mentioned those lesson plans. So again, those are pretty limited. They do have one on like an eclipse, journey to the stars. Is there life on Mars? But that would kind of give you a little bit of a guide on how to utilize that with your students in your classroom and things like that. And then they do have some worksheets that also go along with some of those models. So, you could, even if you only had a set of eight in your classroom for the day, you could do those in small groups and kind of rotate out. These students do that, and then they go sit down and you do the worksheet and things like that. So, it can definitely be done. So, very good resource to use with Class VR. I'm a huge, huge fan of those. And we even could try maybe I've helped write a grant for Verbena High School, and that is how we secured those there. So, if that's something that you're interested in being a point person for, I am more than happy to help secure that for your school and your department or wherever. So, definitely doable. Um, Okay, before we get into the FET, I also want to show, I love my AI tools too. I was looking, AI's not quite as maybe applicable with science, but I did find this science lab generator on Magic School AI. I'm probably going to have to sign in. Oh, sign in with Google. So, Magic School AI is one of those that I have said too that it has some freebies and mostly paid. So I'm not saying we can't use Magic Tool. That's Magic School. That's totally fine. It's just not 100% free. So one thing that I really like about this is that, as a former science teacher, sometimes I was like, okay, I've been lecturing for a couple of days now. We've watched a video, we've done a worksheet, but I really want them to do a lab. Like I need a lab of something for them to do. So you can put in your grade level, your description, and some context, and it's going to generate a lab for you. It also talks about safety precautions and things like that. So I love this idea because it could help give you some fresh, tools to share and to teach your students if you're tired of doing the same old thing again. So love that as kind of a feedback option. The other thing that I wanted to mention is an online tool called PhET, Phet, and it is interactive simulations. They are 100% free. I included a YouTube video on here on how to kind of get those started. So, just to kind of give you a little bit more of a resource and a fallback for there. But it is actually built by and maintained by the University of Colorado at Boulder. So, it is free. I do believe that probably some students work on this. Um, and so you just go to simulations and all simulations, and you will be able to look through. You can filter out if you want to do Earth and space. And so these simulations should run fine. It does require HTML5 on our devices. So let's see. If you're running Chrome, it just says the latest version of Chrome. So make sure your Chromebooks are up to date. Um, for that. It says that they are compatible with HTML5, so that is a good thing to know. Always check those system requirements so we can make sure that that works for us. If all else fails, you can do this on like your view board or things like that, and then the students could watch you do it and interact and things like that. So it gives you their learning goals, and then you just play the simulation. So this is going to, it gives us an intro. I'm just going to the lab and not look at directions. Probably should do that. But it looks like for this one, you can calculate the different masses of the planet, talk about your speed, velocity, and gravitational force, stuff that's probably way over my head. But if you have those students that you're talking about all of these things with, and you don't have the resources to do a physical lab, this is going to be a great option for you to be able for them to explore something hands-on in your classroom. They do give you some teaching activities. Most of these are going to be for our middle school, upper level, and it tells you right here, this one is a K-5 lesson. High school, university level, MS would be middle school. So you can look through those and see if there's something that interests you in there. And we're just short and sweet today. The fact that, I'm recording this presentation and I'm not monitoring your chat or anything makes this kind of short. You're still going to get your PD credit for this. For the session because we cannot control things like there being fiber cuts in the network down. But I do want to make sure that you know to go to the link to the Google form. You're going to fill out this form to make sure that you are getting the credit for the form. I will not award that immediately. I have a day on my calendar to go through and award credit for everybody at one time. So I'm not constantly going back and forth seeing who's done it, who hasn't. So it will not be on there right now, but it will be on there at the end of the school year. So please don't panic about that. I will make sure if you fill out that form, and you can submit the form for as many sessions as you Need to. I will fix that last question too about us attending live. And again, there's my email address. I appreciate the time you took to watch this video. And if you have any questions or you have any other needs and want to reach out, please feel free to do so. Have a great day.